こんにちは。今日のスピーキングを始めます。The Women's Movement. During the 1960s and 1970s, the women's movement made considerable progress in elevating public awareness of inequalities between the sexes. A central player in the movement was the National Organization for Women Now, which was formed in 1966 by Betty Friedan and other like-minded activists to promote women's rights through legislation. In the late 1960s, Now lobbied for the end of job discrimination and for government-supported childcare services for professional mothers. In 1972, Now helped to secure support for Title IX of the Education Amendments Act, which required colleges to guarantee equal opportunities for women, and the Equal Rights Amendment, which was passed by Congress but subsequently failed in the ratification process. The organization also saw the legalization of abortion, a goal achieved with the Supreme Court's decision in the Roe v. Wade case of 1973. In addition to its political achievements, the women's movement also helped to forge a new sense of identity and shared experiences among women. An important part of this process was the creation of publications specifically for women, such as Smith, a feminist magazine founded in 1970 that provided the forum for women's issues. Other publications such as the influential book Our Bodies Ourselves helped many women to feel more comfortable about their bodies and encouraged them to discuss formerly taboo topics such as birth control, lesbianism, and rape. In addition, schools and universities began to offer courses in women's issues. By 1974, nearly 80 institutions offered women's studies programs. Railroad. Of all the great modern innovations, the railroad may well be the one to which historians have allowed the most dramatic and far-reaching influence. No sooner had the first passenger railroads began operations in England and the United States around 1830 than the public was seized by what was called, even then railroad mania. The new steam machine was as great a source of astonishment than as the computer is today. It could pull more weight faster than people had thought possible. It was mechanically and visually arresting. And it almost immediately began to change common ideas of time, space, and history. The railroad evoked the widely shared sense that the normal magical enhancement of human power was about to take place. The more historians have learned about the changes caused by the railroad, the less maniac, the more reasonable, or at least understandable, the initial mania has come to seem. They remind us that the steam-powered locomotive was the first important innovation in overland transportation since before the time of Julius Caesar, and many economic historians have described the railroad as one of the chief pivots on which the Industrial Revolution turned. Before large-scale production could be profitable, farmers and manufacturers had to gain access to larger markets. It was the railroads that made it feasible to ship goods long distance over land. The galaxies. Stars are found in huge groups called galaxies. Scientists estimate that the larger galaxies may contain as many as 1,000,000,000 stars, while the smallest may have fewer than 1,000,000. Galaxies can be up to 100,000 light-years in diameter. Galaxies may have any of four general shapes. Elliptical galaxies show little or no structure and vary from moderately flat to spherical in general shape. Spiral galaxies have a small, bright central region, or nucleus, and arms that come out of the nucleus and wide around, trailing off like a giant pinwheel. In bird spiral galaxies, the arms extend sideways in a short straight line, before turning off into the spiral shape. Both kinds of spiral systems are flawed. Irregular galaxies are usually rather small and have no particular shape or form. Galaxies were long thought to be more or less passive objects, containing stars and interstellar gas and dust, and shining by the radiation that their stars give off. When astronomers became able to make accurate observations of radio frequencies coming from space, They were surprised to find that the number of galaxies emit large amounts of energy in the radio region. Ordinary stars are so hot that most of their energy is emitted in visible light, with little energy emitted than radio frequencies. Furthermore, astronomers were able to deduce that this radiation had been given off by charged particles of extremely high energy moving in magnetic fields. The planets. All the planets travel about the Sun in elliptical orbits that are close to being circles. Mercury and Pluto have the most eccentric orbits. All the planets travel in one direction, around the Sun, the same direction in which the Sun rotates. Furthermore, all the planetary orbits lie in very nearly the same plane. Again, Mercury and Pluto have the most tilted orbits. Mercury is tilted 7 degrees to the plane of Earth's orbit. The elliptic plane, Pluto is tilted about 17 degrees. Most of the planets rotate on their axes in the same west to east motion. The exceptions are Venus, and Pluto. Most of the axes are nearly at right angle to the plane of planets' orbits. In the other words, those axes of rotation are basically perpendicular to their orbital planes. Venus, however, is tilted so that its axis lies almost in the plane of its orbit, which basically means that it is rolling on its side as it orbits the Sun. The planets can be divided into two groups. The inner planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars, lie within the asteroid belt. Near the Sun, they are dense, rocky, and small. Since Earth is a typical inner planet, this group is sometimes called terrestrial planets. The outer planets lie beyond the asteroid belt. With the exception of Pluto, they are much larger and more massive than the inner planets, and they are much less dense. Since Jupiter is the main representative of the outer planets, they are sometimes called the Jovian, or giant planets. Pluto is an outer planet, but it is not usually regarded as a Jovian planet. Pesticides and cancer. While pesticides have gotten a lot of negative publicity, some of it may not be justified. Contrary to popular belief, there are no pesticides approved for use in the US, which are known to cause cancer in humans. It is unlikely that pesticide residues have caused cancer in any individual, but there are approved chemicals that are listed as suspected of causing cancer. However, these chemicals are listed because they were found risky in tests in which rats consumed doses thousands of times greater than humans typically consume. I would like to suggest that this is not a realistic method of testing pesticide risks, particularly in humans. Furthermore, there are natural chemicals in our foods that are much more toxic than pesticide residues. These natural toxins are associated with several kinds of cancer. The best way to fight these toxins is to destroy the fungi that are responsible for producing them. This can be achieved by pesticide treatment. In this way, pesticides may actually reduce the incidence of cancer. Our final important point is that the use of pesticides has allowed us to dramatically increase the supply of cheap, attractive fruits and vegetables throughout the year. We are now discovering that eating more fruits and vegetables can reduce the risk of cancer by a significant amount. Thus, because pesticide use leads to an increase in fresh food consumption, it indirectly saves lives by cutting the incidence of cancer. 終わり。